All right, let's talk about the settling of Oregon for a few minutes. You've been reading about that in chapters 2 and 3, especially, of Which Way to the Wild West. And just for a quick refresher, through Andrew Jackson's era, we had acquired the Louisiana Purchase under Thomas Jefferson. It's this purple area I'm lining off. And so we acquired Florida from Spain, thanks to Jackson invading, and through other treaties and deals with the British, we had shaped out the rest of the United States by about 1820. Things slowed down for a little bit, and then picked up steam really in the 1840s, and we had three major additions as you see here: one, two, and three, roughly in that chronological order. So the first place people were attracted to was Oregon, but this stuff was really happening at the same time. People moving to Oregon, Texas, and California rapidly. But for right now, we're going to talk about Oregon and review what we discussed and saw in chapters 2 and 3 of the book there. So people are moving to Oregon after they've heard about the great reports from fur trappers and mountain men. So then fur trappers and mountain men, after they kill all the beaver, now they're going to lead people over. Particularly missionaries are going to be the first group of kind of non-mountain men to head that way, like the Whitmans that we heard about in Which Way to the Wild West. They were a good example of these early missionaries that made the journey. These are the first families, the first examples of women traveling. And the Oregon Territory, it was claimed by England and the U.S., and eventually Britain recognized our claim as we populated it more rapidly. We drew that line that makes the border between the U.S. and Canada now in 1848. When the fur trappers talked about the great land, the available land, and the inexpensive cost of the land, people started moving west. The transportation revolution has not affected this area yet. There's no railroads, there's no canals. People just have to get in their covered wagons and walk. Now there's great risk here. There's death, there's disease, there's injury. You are leaving behind old friends and old family members and people you love. But the idea is that you are going to be able to start a new, better life, a more prosperous life, a healthier life, if you endure this hardship. When these people move to these areas, as you saw in the book, disease and fighting with Native Americans pops up. Just as thousands upon thousands of settlers move in, the remaining Native American survivors feel threatened. There are often misunderstandings, frustrations, violence, like the Whitman massacre, where the Cayuse people were frustrated about the measles that the settlers were bringing in with them, that was especially fatal for the Native American children. Now, part of the reason Oregon was so popular and not, Kansas or some other Midwestern state was just the land was regarded as so much better. Those are the Rocky Mountains in the background of that picture and some rich Oregon land in the foreground. More trees. You're not going to see many trees on the Great Plains on the other side of the Rocky Mountains. So this, for many people, was the ultimate goal. And even today, the West Coast is populated much more densely than the Midwest states. So there were different trails, though. We often talk about the Oregon Trail, or you may have heard of the Oregon Trail. It's definitely famous. There was a video game based on it. But there were a lot of other trails depending on where you wanted to go. If you were a Mormon, you may be traveling on the Utah Trail to get to Great Salt Lake or Salt Lake City. If you were trying to go to California, which we'll talk about in another lecture, you would take the California Trail. So these, whatever trail it was, you would gather together with other people and you would go the distance. You would take everything that you needed to cross the country and establish a new farming homestead and begin your new life at your destination, provided something didn't go horribly wrong on the way, like the Donner Party that you read about.